Hello and welcome to the video. This is a quick overview of the features of this new M7AC Multifunctional Charger from ToolKit RC. Now this is an upgraded version of the M7. It's about 50% more max power when powered by DC, 50% increase in the discharge power, doubled the balance current, which is great. It's going to make balance charging an awful lot quicker, but it's a lot bigger than the original M7 and almost twice the price too. Now I've got a lot of ToolKit RC test stuff on my bench. I don't tend to use them as chargers as much as test equipment, and the stuff that I'm using on a regular basis are things like this P200 bench power supply. You probably see it in loads of different videos. Very handy to not only provide very specific voltages, but also to manage the current that's being delivered as well. I also have my watt meter that's very handy when I'm testing motor and prop combos for things like wings, and probably my all-time favorite is my old M8 smart charger. Now again, this isn't used for charging. This little ToolKit RC box is amazing for measuring signals, and when you're in that situation where you're not sure whether or not that particular receiver is outputting the right signals because you can't see the S-bus stuff moving in Betaflight, this is a fantastic way to quickly plug the receiver in and absolutely confirm that isn't the problem. Now, as well as having my big 4-port chargers for when I'm going to the field with lots of things, I always like to have a single or dual port charger somewhere handy, because it just means you can top up things like the bench batteries that you use for testing, but also it also allows you to charge extra things when you're going to the field, allows you to charge more packs at home more quickly, and with the DC pits as well, it also means that while you're at the field you can power it from something else and you can top up those batteries and stay flying for longer. Now that I've already covered lots of other different ToolKit RC chargers, I'll put some of the links down below if you're interested. ToolKit RC have an awful lot of these, and it can be a little bit confusing as which ones do what, so I'll run through what this particular one does. Now the big headlines for this is that it has AC and DC input, so you can absolutely charge the batteries at home, but you do stuff at the field. It also has voice files available. Doesn't come with an SD card. You'll need to get one of those and download the voice files from the ToolKit RC website. It's a little bit gimmicky in my humble opinion, but if you have trouble reading the screens, or maybe you've turned your back on it while you're doing something else while the batteries are charging, it's a great way to kind of get your attention. There's also some other cool features as well, things like the signal generator, the signal tester, a voltmeter, and even a basic bench power supply. So it will do a lot of the things of the other boxes that I've got scattered around my build table. So let's power it from DC for this particular demo. The AC is the only one that the switch actually works with. As soon as you power it on, it will fire up. You can add your own logo at the start as well. Charging screen is very typical for these things, showing you exactly how it works. In the input settings, we have the ability to pick what we want all the voltage ranges to be and how we want that to work, as well as set things like the maximum internal temperatures and how long and how much it can actually deliver. The backlight, all the stuff is in here for the volumes. Let me change the theme style to dark because that'll make it easier to see. There we go, that's much better for the camera. And then we have a couple of other options here as well for battery selections and continuous work. Long pressing the enter key will get us into all the different settings. So this is going to support LiPo, LiH, LiFe, lithium ion, LTO, nickel metal hydride, PB and UAV batteries. UAV batteries, if you select that, allows you to select between a Mavic 2, Mavic S, Phantom and Inspire. So if you're a DJI pilot, there's some shortcuts for that. Let's put it back on LiPo because that's what I'm going to use it as. Auto cell detection. You've got charge, discharge and storage charge. Now let's put it on storage charge because there's two modes in here. If we discharge a battery, then you can either discharge it internally, which is where it's going to dissipate the heat internally, or external, where it will pump that power back into the DC power supply. If you're using a battery, that's a great way to keep it up. Charge current goes all the way up to 15 amps. So although this is a single battery charger, using it with something like a balance board for smaller batteries would make a lot of sense. Pressing and holding the other key will get you into the other abilities. So we have the ability to measure resistance. We also, if I press and hold that again, have the ability to measure signal, and standard stuff is PWM, PPM, and also S-Bus. It would be nice to have CRSF on this for us ELRS and Crossfire pilots. Also to generate signals for the same 3 protocols, and then we also have an ESC test which allows you to send power to the ESC and connect it up and actually run it and see what kind of current's being pulled. A little bit clunky this in the way that you have to set it all up. I'm not sure I'd use that in live situation. And then we have the ability to use it as a battery power supply for the bench, and you can set the voltage and current. Now, there are a number of things that I like about this. I like the screen. It's bright and very easy to read. It is very reflective, so be aware of that. If you're in the field on a very bright, shiny day, I'd stick it in the shade. Also AC and DC, so that is a big plus for me. I like ones that you can use both on the bench and at the field. Regular USB charging port on this, which I'm very pleased to see. Other versions of the ToolKit stuff have had different USB styles. This one is the one that I use the most because I need to charge not only the batteries, but my DJI FPV controller, my Fat Shark batteries, my GoPro batteries, top up my radio via USB. There's a load of other things as well. So having this on here is great. It would have actually been nice if there had been a dual USB charger, because so much in the hobby now uses USB to charge things. I like the sliding door that makes you choose between XT60 and XT30. Means that you can't plug 2 things in at once. And the menu is pretty easy to navigate and quite intuitive. Voice feedback is handy for those who need it. Personally, I'm not that bothered about that, but again, if you have impaired sight or you have it behind you and you want a nice announcement when things are happening, it's a nice bit of feedback about what's going on. Other things in here that are handy, things like the separate signal tester, the power supply. You can also add a welcome screen when you download the SD card contents. There is a file on there in, I think it's the logos/logo.bmp. If you make a BMP that's 320 by 240, you can have your own logo appeal on here if that's something that floats your boat. And if the voltage isn't close enough, from the quick bit of testing here, this is pretty close on mine. There is also a calibration menu hidden away too. So only a couple of things to be aware of really with this. Power switch only works with the AC input. If you saw, as soon as you plug DC in, it's on. It's only a single battery charger. You're going to need an additional parallel balance board and stuff to do more batteries at once, but this is capable of doing that with a 15 amp maximum. Only 300 watts on DC. That's 15 amp max, which is a bit low compared to some of the other chargers that ToolKit RC do. Things like the M6D has a higher rating of 500 watts, that's DC only, and the M9 has 600 watts, I think that's DC only too. But my biggest gripe is the fact that the XT60 and the XT30 ports are the wrong way round. The XT30 port should be on the left, so that for those smaller batteries with shorter leads, it's easier to get the balance lead into the balance tap here. In summary, it's good to see another multifunction charger from ToolKit RC, and I'm very happy to see that AC and DC options are provided if that's important to you. I checked the prices on the Chinese warehouses as it's coming close to some other dual port chargers, things like the Hota and others, and also there are other options in the ToolKit RC lineup. Again, I'll put links down below so you can go and have a look. Lots of nice things on this multifunction charger, but with the exception of the AC, I don't think it's that different from a lot of the others. Thank you for spending your time today watching that video. You can find me in all the usual places on social media, and if you're trying to learn about a subject, then check out the playlist. All of my videos are organized into easy to follow playlists that if you're trying to learn a topic will take you from the basics right the way through to some pretty advanced stuff.